Hi, I'm Susie Walton from Backstage, and I'm here with Tom Pelphrey, who stars in HBO's upcoming crime drama Task. Tom, thank you for meeting with me today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, starting with something fun, we were wondering if you're watching, reading, or listening to anything that you really enjoy at the moment.
Um, we've watched a bunch of interesting movies lately. We watched Dangerous Animals
What was
the
that?
other night. Have you seen it?
Am I thinking of the right one? I might be thinking of Dangerous Slice. um,
Dangerous Animals was a very disturbing story about a man who runs a shark boat.
oh, no, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he kidnaps people and anyway, I don't want to spoil the movie, but that was pretty good.
Mhm.
Reading Carl Jung at the moment, Answer to Job, which is a little dense but fascinating, really beautiful book. Listening to uh I mean, I'm still listening to the things I listened to when I was a teenager, if I'm being honest.
Oh, well.
When I'm working out, my playlist is, Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and, Tool and all the bands I loved when I was in high school.
Mhm. I went to Warped Tour as an adult a couple years ago, and I was probably the only adult there, but it was amazing. It was like what I wanted to do when I was in high school, but it was
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Oh man, it's incredible. Ozzy Osbourne obviously passed the other day, and I was at Ozfest when I was in high school, and it was incredible because I remember he came up last. He was headlining. There was a lot of great bands there that day, and even back then at the time he walked on stage, he was kind of shaking and he was talking, and the second that music started. Boom. He was just like 30 years younger, just dancing, jumping all over the stage. It was,
That is incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Sorry, going back a step, but you said you were reading Young. Do you feel like archetypal work factors into your acting process at all, or is it more just,
You know,
like
the, the
saying
more
it, but
the more I read Jung and the more I think about it, the more I think it's probably factoring into everybody's everything, whether they're aware of it or not.
it's archetypes, right?
I mean, he is touching some very ancient, very primal, old, well, maybe not primal, but very, very ancient ideas.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's fascinating. To me, it's just so beautiful the way his mind works, and it's so interesting. And I think I think something that strikes me about him that I love is in general taking the approach that what people might think of as problems could just be a part of themselves that is trying to evolve. And I think that's really beautiful because it's not negative. It's positive, and there's something you can do about it. And maybe that there's a reason that it's happening that you can investigate. I like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, was actually jumping ahead a little bit, but that kind of reminds me of obviously your character in Task, who is going through some things and very, let's say, morally complex. What kind of research or prep work did you do to prepare for that character? And in particular, very curious about the accent because you are amazing.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I've been losing sleep over that one. Well, we had a fantastic accent coach, and she was really great about kind of found that like she would give me a bunch of Suzanne. She would give me a bunch of um, sound clips and changes and people. And then what I found eventually that I had to do was take all the sort of rules I was learning and one of the girls who worked on set, Angela, she introduced me to her cousin, who is Delco. And he was awesome. He just let me call him and we could talk. And I could like hear where the rules apply. He was just speaking freely. He knew I was listening for the sounds, but we both love football, so we could just have conversations where it wasn't so conscious that he's sometimes when people know that they're listening to the way that they're that you're listening to the way that they're speaking. They'll start to speak slightly differently just because they become a little self-conscious. But we got past that, and what I found was that like some of the rules applied some of the times, and that was the aha moment. Like that O sound was keeping me up at night. But then I found that the more I listen to real speakers talk, for some reason, there's like this strange invisible rule where they'll only use it once per sentence.
Huh.
Isn't that odd?
That is odd and impressive that you noted that.
It was taking me forever because if you were just trying to do the O sound
Mhm.
and you were just trying to cram it in wherever you could get it, you couldn't even get a sentence out of your mouth. You're just like, yeah. It's like this is not going to work, and this is not how people talk. But that was a great part of it. Half of the accent is the same as the accent I have. So where we were filming was basically Delco. I grew up less than an hour from where we were filming in Jersey. And so a lot of the sounds are the same, which was like both good in the sense in the one sense and difficult at times because it was like close but very different. So you would have to change things that I thought would have made sense given the similarities. But yeah, it was I mean it was amazing to be back on the East Coast working.
Mhm.
The the kind of like ethos and the kind of vibe um of that world and of those people is very much a world I grew up in. So in that sense, it made sense to me immediately.
Mhm.
Like the values, the way people were talking, the way people joke with one another,
Mhm.
which yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's great. Um, I guess speaking of Jersey, so I know that you studied at Rutgers, and that you studied with Kevin Kittle and then later collaborated with him. I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about anything you learned from that or your collaboration, um, maybe also advice for aspiring actors on, how to lay down the groundwork for future collaborations with people they know now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Kevin was such an amazing teacher. He is such a special guy. And you know, Kevin Kevin approaches things in a way that is so pure. Like Kevin believes that each thing that you work on should be sort of judged and approached on its own merits.
Mhm.
And this is an interesting thing to say, but I found a very hard thing to actually do in practice, where you're not bringing in comparison and where you're not bringing in judgments, and so it's fascinating to watch him like work on a script, let's say, and this goes into the collaboration part because a very good friend of mine, Rhett Rossi, would often work with Kevin on new plays, and I would always be there for the workshops. I'd be reading one of the roles and I'd be watching them work together. And it was fascinating to me because Kevin would never give a comment. Everything was a question. And every question was aimed at clarifying what he thought Rhett was trying to get across.
Mhm.
And I say this because I think it's so difficult sometimes for people to encounter material, and this applies to being an actor, this applies to being a director. I think it's difficult for people to encounter material wherein on some level they're not trying to put their stamp on it.
Right.
But the way I saw Kevin work and the way he would talk about it was, no, I just want to bring what it is out of itself. And so it tells me
Mhm.
in a way. And I took that very much to heart. That's still the way I try and work. It was harder when I was younger. Your ego gets too in the way, but you get older and it's like, oh wow, this could really, I should just let this tell me how it wants to be done versus me deciding, what I'm gonna do. But so Kevin and Rhett would always work together developing these plays. I got to be there for a lot of it, developed a play called In God's Hat, a few years after we graduated Rutgers, my friend Dennis Flanagan and I started a theater company called Apothecary.
I saw that. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
it was amazing. I mean, you go through this school, you go through this experience at Mason Gross. You have 4 years of just everything you do is in the theater.
Mhm.
We had class from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You had an hour to eat. You would go to the theater and work on a main stage play. When you were younger, maybe you were running props or learning the light board. And then when you were older, you're casting the shows. That's until 11 o'clock at night. And then when we were there, they would give us access to one of their two black box, or three actually, black box theater spaces. And we would go in there from 11 to 1 in the morning and rehearse plays. We'd write our own plays. We'd find plays that we loved and direct them. We did our own lights. We figured out our own props, our own costumes. It was this amazing education in like how to create something. And also, as always happens when you get to do someone else's job, a real appreciation for how much work goes into trying to make something good and how important everybody else's job is. And so then when we got out of school, it was like, let's not just sit around and wait for someone to give us a job. Like, let's do what we want to do. So this resulted in our first sort of big production was a play called In God's Hat that was directed by Kevin, that had been dramaturged and developed by Kevin, that was written by our friend Rhett Rossi, who also was an actor in the thing. Dennis was an actor. And it took us a year and a half to raise the money, beg, borrow, and steal. Um, Rented a great theater, Peter J. Sharp Theater on at Playwrights Horizons, and did this play. I mean, I was driving the prop truck. We did everything ourselves. We had some help, but we were there building the set, and it was a great success. Like the stars aligned. The New York Times came. They wrote a great
Incredible success.
review. I mean, they wrote a great review, and literally the next day, that the entire run of the show was sold out. The next day, it's like, wow, that's a powerful review. Uh, but it was amazing, and it was, we did more after that. The stars didn't always align quite as well as they did with that one, but it was a deeply satisfying experience. On some level, it was one of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had because there's something about the fact that we literally built that from the ground up. I mean, from dollar one, and yeah,
That's really neat.
yeah.
So would you, it sounds like you would, recommend to aspiring actors, if they're not maybe finding work on their own or if they're struggling, just kind of create something themselves?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, yes, yes. I was just having this conversation the other day. I think actually more so than when we were doing it. I think that is what is wanted right now.
Mhm.
I really do. In this time where there's all this technology, things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the audience is getting more removed in a way from the humanity of the experience
Right.
that even sometimes with theater, right? Like with the bigger theaters, they have to reach and like cover a certain overhead. Things can be big, sometimes those theaters are so gigantic. I feel that there is a hunger and a desire for more intimate,
Mhm.
special evenings, let's say, like a really good play. I saw a play called The Streetcar Project, and it was four actors and a director. I think they're all from Yale. Nick Westrake is the name of the guy who directed it, and they toured the country, and they came out. My friend Katya told me they were coming out to California, and I, my Kaylee and I went and saw them last year. And so it's four actors and they just take whatever space is donated to them. So I saw them do Streetcar Named Desire in a wood shop in Venice. And they only did three performances. And there's no costumes and there's no set. The costumes are costumes, but they're clothes they pulled out of their closets.
Mhm.
There's no props. The lighting is they move space to space. So the lighting is like lights that they can, it looked like lights you can get for $10 at Home Depot. The sound cues are off the computer as called for by Tennessee Williams in the script. And they do this incredible, beautiful, best staged version of a Tennessee Williams play I'd ever seen.
That's amazing.
And oh, it was amazing. And I thought like, there you go. Like that's the future. And it came out of doubling back to what we were saying about Jung and about maybe certain things that are limitations or you're struggling with might be an invitation to evolve rather than this is my problem. Um, it came out of how do we get to share our work?
Mhm.
And how can we do a play? We'd have to raise so much money to do a play. Like, how is that realistic? And then who's going to give us a theater to run a show when we want to, which is a very hard thing to do from experience. So instead, they're like, okay, let's make a list of all the things that make this really difficult to think about doing, and let's see how many of those things we can get rid of. And they did. And what they did was beautiful. And they share the money that they make. Nick, who directed it, is also, stage managing and pressing the sound cues. And it was a true traveling troupe that had this kind of magic show to share. It's very inspiring. And I thought, man, and they were excellent. They did a great job. And obviously, it's such a beautiful play and such an incredible piece of writing. How minimalist it was really brought your attention to the words themselves. And wow, like Tennessee Williams is even more beautiful than I thought. But I thought there's room for more of this.
Yeah,
I
that sounds
really
like
think
a
there's room
great
for more of that.
comment because I know a lot of actors are like, feeling like obviously the market is so oversaturated, and then like you said, like AI and all that jazz. So it's kind of like, what do we do now?
Yes.
There's this theorist, Walter Benjamin, I'm sure you've heard of him, but he has this idea of he calls it, like, the aura, and basically it's like when you're in the presence of true art or like a first reproduction or something, then you feel that.
Right.
Whereas if when something is reproduced or you're further away from the actual craft, then you lose that aura. And
Yeah.
I thought of that while you were talking. That it sounds like absolutely that play has the aura, like you can see the craft in process.
Yes.
And that sounds wonderful.
Wait, what is this person's name? See you.
Walter Benjamin. It looks like Benjamin, um, but yeah, Benjamin.
Well, thank you for that. I'm
I
gonna
think the
look
title
at
of it is Art in the Age of Reproduction, but I could be slightly off.
Wow, I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Um, so kind of going off what you were saying about, this collaborative process of making, working on that play and with your friends, you noted actually in a piece for us, which I found earlier today, which was very exciting, that your creative philosophy is you're part of something bigger.
Hmm.
Um, would you say that's still your creative philosophy? And then do you have any, I guess, just advice for actors on how to apply that to their work or find their own philosophy? Basically, how does that work into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm daunted by saying it's my creative philosophy. That to say anything is my creative philosophy, I think I would be too scared to answer that question.
It's something we
One, I would be intimidated, and two, I really wouldn't know what to say it was. But yes, but as an ethos, as an understanding of work,
there
a
we
hundred
go.
percent, you're part of something greater. I mean, there's so many people, you know, obviously Task is will come out soon, and we were able to watch the show ahead of time. We just finished a few days ago, and it is incredible. Like, and I know I'm biased, but it's beautiful. It's and every person involved does beautiful work. Like really. you
Yeah.
know,
I love
and
it.
oh man, the camera work and all the actors are gorgeous. And I mean the direction and obviously Brad's writing. Brad's writing has been there leading us from the beginning, but the editing, the music, I mean, hearing how the great work Suzanne did with all the actors, where I'm like, ooh, that's a cool dialect from that part of town. Oh, that's South Philly. Oh, that's a Delco, but different, like really. But when you saturate the canvas with like good shit, it makes everything else look better too.
Mhm.
Like because it allows the audience to relax into we've created this world, we've been thorough, we got you, come with us.
Mhm.
And there's so many people it takes to do that well. And there's so many stages of the process that have to go right, from the genesis of Brad and a computer to the men and women in the edit who are, you know, bringing it to life in the way that he intended, even if it wasn't exactly the way that we did it. And so, yeah, I think I don't know. For me to say that you're part of something greater is the most obvious thing in the world. When I was in high school, the teacher I had changed my life. I didn't even know I wanted to be an actor, but Steve Kazikoff was my teacher, and he drilled that into our brains. And it was that you are part of something bigger. And, even when you were the lead in the school play, if you didn't have to rehearse that day, you stayed after and you helped build the set.
Mhm.
And that wasn't like you don't get brownie points for that. That's just obviously what you're gonna do because everybody's trying to make something together,
Mhm.
you know? And like lastly on that, it's just more fun that way. You know? Like it's I don't know. Nobody wants to be working in a vacuum, you
Mhm.
know? Um, so yeah, I mean to me that is definitely the ethos of going into anything is you are a part of something bigger and you have a job to do and you need to tunnel vision and focus on that and take care of all of your responsibility for sure 100%, but it and the work is there in service of the thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, sort of riffing off that. So you and Mark obviously have the sort of hunting each other, I guess, story narrative with the show. Was there like what was your process working with him? Was there anything that you guys did together to prep for that specifically? You guys have great synergy, so I was just after watching it, I was like, "Ooh, gotta ask about that."
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, he is just the loveliest human being. He is such a gentle, kind, fun, silly, generous man. He's obviously an incredible actor, but he was so I've never met Mark before, and then to get to meet him on set, he was so disarming in the most wonderful way. It was like, for certain scenes and for certain things, sometimes I need to kind of be in a certain headspace. And Mark was just always so lovely and open and available. And I said, Mark, like, have you always been that way? You know? And he said, no, no, no. I used to be more like you.
You like it.
But it's beautiful, right? And I've seen this in other people. I've definitely seen this in other actors as well. I think with what we do, hopefully you're learning and growing and you're getting better. And as you do those things, you feel more and more comfortable in yourself. And as you feel more comfortable in yourself, there's an ease with which you can do things that maybe wasn't available to you, 10 or 15 or 20 years before. I certainly feel that way. Like whatever I'm doing now to feel like I'm present and the way I need to be present to do my work is different than it was 15 years ago.
Right.
It's easier now.
Do you think that's mostly from, just doing the thing, like doing it more and more, or is it aging or, oh,
Well, I think it's all of it, but I think for sure it's doing the thing. It's just like anything else that you do a million times. I mean, I've been doing this thing, pretty much nonstop in some form or another, a class, a play, a job, a play workshop, stage reading. I mean, been doing it and almost to the exclusion of everything else for, I mean, it's almost 30 years.
wow. And all
Yeah.
thanks to high school teacher. That's great.
Yeah. Well, so for sure, you through repetition and learning and watching other people. I mean, that's always, getting to watch things where people do beautiful work and and I don't like to think about it while I'm watching it because that's just so lame. But maybe if something really takes you or moves you to go back and be like, what were they doing? Like why did that land on me so deeply, or why was that so interesting to me, or why do I think that works so well? And then you can go back like technically and try and learn from, what other people are doing in their work. I certainly did that all the time as a teenager. I think we all do. We all have our sort of heroes, no matter what we do and look up to. But I
Yeah.
think watching
Sorry.
other people. No, no, you go.
I was gonna say, are there any like performances or actors or anything that you can point out that you saw it and you were like, oh, this thing, I have to go back and restudy this? Like anything that comes to your mind?
There's so many. I mean, I have a lot of obvious answers. What when I was younger, and this is one that still lives in the upper echelon for me. Gary Oldman in State of Grace was just such a wild, like wild performance. Um, you know, e- every time I rewatched The Godfather, I can't even quite figure out like why Al Pacino is just a black hole of gravity just sucking all of my attention into his
Like command
face.
screen.
I mean, I don't know what kind of magic he was doing, but I mean, every time I watch Meryl Streep do anything,
Mhm.
she's just on a different level. I mean, I don't even know. It's like almost unfair to compare her to anyone else, I think. Um, but maybe Meryl Streep is a great idea also or a great example of the the wide range of characters she plays and the wide ranges of like worlds she plays in, like genre of movie.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know, it's interesting to see, oh, that same person is able to change this, and this, and then fit into this world. And then they change this, and so what are they doing there? And what is that? Like, I don't know. I don't know that I have the most specific examples, but I know that, um, I mean, I watched this movie, Santosh from India. I think it came out in 24. I just saw it like 5 months ago. Wow. The two lead actors, these ladies gave incredible performances. The police chief and this woman who's like a younger deputy. Their work was, it just blew me away. And that's the other thing too. You see these films from other countries with actors we might not even know
Mhm.
and how good their work is, and you realize there's there's just many universes of this
Mhm.
to exist in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're talking about the headspace that you get into for, performing. And that sort of made me think of, your character. Well, a theme of the show of Task is, I think, at least, sort of like the things we hide, the masks we wear figuratively. But then your character actually also wears a literal mask
Sure.
when he's committing crimes. Was there, is there, I guess wondering if you'd speak on that. Like, was there uh like inherent change when you put on the mask for yourself, for your character? Did you feel like it was sort of representative of, again, putting on the character himself for you? Um, I guess anything along those lines.
That's funny. I mean, it was just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun to get to put on a mask like that and to see my two friends with their masks on and knowing that the visual effect that that has, and then you sort of just carry that in your body. It's just it's just really fun.
Mhm.
Fun in a way that the Halloween is when you're a kid, you know. Um, yeah, I loved it and I loved the visuals that it gave and you know, they definitely served their purpose well.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, they definitely did. And then earlier you were talking about, kind of your process of interrogating the text. So I was wondering if, I don't know, when it comes to Brad's work, if there was anything specific, because it's so, powerful and gritty and dark, when you were doing script analysis that, helped you commit to the really intense storylines, I guess just generally kind of what your process of script analysis is like.
Oh boy, that would be a long and winding conversation. But really just like in general, just trying to identify the world and then based on the world, just trying to understand the story that's being told, and then based on the story that's being told, trying to understand where that role fits into the story. And then you have to forget all of that, you know. But I think it's important to objectively to like understand what you're stepping into in a big picture sense. You do have to throw it out. I mean, you can't act any of that and you're not responsible for it. And it's not really our concern after a point. But I think understanding that at first by going to the script over and over and over again gives you a proper orientation to then go do
Mhm.
your, you know, you kind of can't forget what you saw there and then you bring it back and then then the sky's the limit. Like once you understand the dimensions of the field of play, as it were, I guess, you have freedom to run all over the place,
Mhm.
because you're not just like shooting blind. So, um, you know,
Kind of like the Picasso approach. Like you have to know the rules in order to break them.
yeah, I would say, that's the same, that's the idea.
Mhm.
Um, and and God, with Brad's writing in particular, he just loves people. It just comes through as dark as some of his stuff can be. He that is a person who has a love in his heart for human beings, I think. And I think he's so talented. And I think that's why. I think that's one of the things that makes him so special.
Yeah, I
He,
feel like the humanity of the characters really shines through, and you fall in love
yeah,
with them when you watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and then to not take too much more of your time, I was just wondering, I guess, if you have any, again, final insights or advice or anything for our readers who are, mostly aspiring performers, on whether, breaking into the industry, auditioning, just kind of persevering, anything along those lines.
Yeah, just don't quit.
Mhm.
Just keep just keep going. I mean, just keep going. You know, if this is what you love and this is what you want to do and this is what you're obsessed with, and it does take a little bit of that. Like it does take a little bit of the obsession. You know, I remember many dark days over the years when I was younger and struggling and I didn't have a I didn't have I didn't do more than a guest star on a TV show until I was 31. And it takes time sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, and and that's okay. It really is okay. Like, but then the important thing is don't quit.
Well.
It's like gotta find the reason to keep going and so there's like always be in class, always try and be learning. If you can't be in class, be watching things that are good, be thinking about why they're good, be watching people that you like, be watching people that resonate with you, be watching like there's always something you can be doing. And nowadays with the phones, like
You can do it anywhere.
yes, and do it. Like I had this conversation with a young actor not that long ago, but I was like, if you're not getting auditions, pick some material for yourself, get your phone, film yourself doing it, and then watch.
Mhm.
Like try and learn. If you can watch yourself at all objectively, that's such a great tool. That is not something any of us could have really done
Right.
years ago, even. You know what I mean? Like when I was, you still had to, you'd go into the room and there's the fucking camera
Yeah.
on a tripod. You know what I mean? Like you're not sitting at home on the camera on the tripod and then the VCR. So it's like you do this now, you press stop and you could watch it back. And
Mhm.
and so that you're letting your body and your mind live in the space of creation. Like you're working. That is what you're doing. You're working. You're reinforcing it, you're getting better, you're learning, you're teaching yourself what you are, you know?
That stuff what you are. It's good.
Yeah, because suddenly, you don't do it for 6 months, and now you have to go do this audition. I don't even remember how to act. There's so many ways you're reading things that open your heart, that expand your mind, all the ways. Like we're used to have this, well, had this amazing teacher, Deborah Headwell, and she would always say, your job is to go out and expand your experience, right? Like
Yeah.
to feel more things, to experience more things, to grow your heart and your compassion and your intellect, and so that when it comes time to play a big role, meaning a role of a complex individual, that you have
All that.
things to understand even what that would be.
Mhm.
You can't ever step into something larger than yourself. You can't because you just don't know what you're talking about. You can always shrink yourself down, but because you can focus on that one part of yourself and just fixate on that until that becomes the main thing. But you can't make yourself bigger. And so like also part of our job is just keep expanding. You know,
Under
keep
yourself. Yeah.
keep growing, and when you see it that way and there's all these different ways to stay engaged, it becomes less I need this audition. I need to book this thing because sometimes you will and sometimes you won't.
Right.
And sometimes you won't for a long time. I mean, there was
Like 31.
there was long stretches of time where I couldn't get run over, like I don't know. It's hard. It is a hard thing, but it's also we're chasing something that we love, and
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing in and of itself. And so I think just like find creative and fun ways to stay engaged where all of your focus isn't on did I get this job or did I not? That's just like a secondary thing to everything else you have going on.
Thank you so much. That is excellent advice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I suppose I should let you go. Thank you so much for
Such a great conversation. I love this.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, wonderful conversation. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you very much.
Hope you have a good rest of your day. And
Yeah,
hit
you
by
too.
the tsunami.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right. And thank you for this Walter how did you pronounce it again?
Benjamin. That's at least how my professor pronounced it. So,
Okay. I'm gonna go read that. I'm really excited. Thanks, Susie.
of course, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.